The president versus the press.
He is fed up with all the fake news. This was his latest tweet. Major lies written, then forced to be withdrawn after they are exposed. A stain on America.
All eyes on the state of Alabama. Republican Roy Moore currently in the lead as he denies accusations of sexual misconduct.
But it's also part of a scheme of political parties today to degrade your opponent.
Those who are really concerned about children and the future well-being of children, they put that ahead of Roy Moore's alleged past.
The most destructive wildfire raging in Southern California just got bigger, scorching nearly 250,000 acres. That is larger than the city of New York.
To give Pittsburgh the lead. Watch again. 39-38.
McCoy into the end zone, and Buffalo wins it.
Is the man.
Very pretty day down in our
What are you
nation's
talking
capital.
about? That's the guy who sings this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Chico and the Man, a very successful sitcom.
Completely unrelated.
Yes.
Right.
And the man.
So it is Monday. Lots of news to talk about this morning. We have Kellyanne Conway that's coming up. We're going to talk to her about the news of the day. But first...
Straight to our top story. All eyes on Alabama one day before the state's special election for the U.S. Senate seat.
The Republican candidate, Roy Moore, has President Trump on his side as he's denying all the sexual misconduct claims, and his opponent is launching brand new attacks.
All right, it's going to be a heck of a battle as the voters go to the polls. Griff Jenkins live in Washington with what a pastor has to say about the dilemma Alabamans, did I say that right?
Alabamians?
I should say Alabamians have to make. Griff?
Alabamians indeed. Here we go in the heart of Dixie, guys, with just hours to go. First, Alabama voters are waking up to a robocall from President Trump this morning, urging them to get out and vote for Moore, calling Jones a liberal puppet of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. Moore, who was noticeably absent from the campaign trail this weekend, avoided reporters but called into a radio show yesterday, defiantly denying the allegations against him and attacking the Republican establishment who refused to support him.
The Republican establishment actually wants Jones in there because they think they can beat him in 2 years without a contest. And, of course, the Democrats want Jones in there for their vote.
Meanwhile, Jones barnstormed the state with outside help from establishment Democrats like New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, and he accused Moore of hiding.
What kind of public servant hides and goes only into enclaves and doesn't address the media? I'm going to be as accessible after this election as I am now.
Ultimately, it's going to come down to this choice that Fox News contributor and Pastor Robert Jeffress said in our last hour. Take a listen.
Evangelicals can choose Roy Moore, who vehemently denies the very serious allegations of child abuse from 40 years ago, or they can choose Doug Jones, who openly and proudly embraces the most extreme example and kind of child abuse, abortion.
Now, Moore has a slight lead in the polls, guys. Tonight, he plans to close out his campaign with a major rally featuring none other than Steve Bannon. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Right. We'll see what kind of jacket he wears. Probably the bomber jacket, Steve Bannon, I imagine.
All right, Griff, thank you very much. All right, Kellyanne Conway is going to be with us in just a couple of moments, we hope. But first, we got some other news with Jillian.
The bomber jacket is so in right now.
Right. It's the only one he has, I think.
Good morning, guys. Good morning to you at home. Straight to a Fox News alert. The hunt intensifying for whoever is behind a string of freeway shootings. Police in Detroit say the same suspect or suspects are playing Russian roulette on Interstate 94, opening fire 4 separate times. One driver was hit in the leg but is expected to be okay. Authorities now looking for a silver or gray car seen during the shootings. While you were sleeping, the most destructive wildfire raging in Southern California just got bigger, scorching 230,000 acres. That's larger than New York City. The massive inferno forcing brand new evacuation orders in Santa Barbara. Hurricane-force winds fueling the flames, making it the 5th largest wildfire in state history. 6 out-of-control blazes still burning across California at this hour, and it could get even worse. There's no rain in the forecast at all this week. New overnight, the U.S. military making a bold show of force, launching missile tracking drills as tensions with North Korea run high. The two-day joint drill with Japan and South Korea simulate detecting and tracking down potential ballistic missiles in the waters off the Korean peninsula. This comes less than weeks after the rogue nation fired its longest range missile yet, potentially capable of reaching anywhere in the U.S. Well, it was an action-packed Week 14 across the NFL. The Philadelphia Eagles locking up the NFC East title with a 43-35 win over the Rams. We're happy about that, but the star QB could be done for the season. Carson Wentz leaving the third quarter with a knee injury. He'll undergo an MRI today in Philadelphia. Fingers crossed. I know. It's like so bittersweet. All right. An ejected Seattle Seahawks player, Quentin Jefferson, tried climbing into the stands, charging at opposing fans who threw things at him following a 30-24 loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And did you see this? A snowy scene in Buffalo. In fact, there was so much snow you could barely see the field. And by the way, why were they wearing white uniforms in the snow? The Bills beat the Colts 13-7.
They should have worn pennies.
It was you couldn't see anything. But seriously, I mean, yes, like so many people this morning are like, oh, congratulations about your Eagles, but
listen,
something people did see, 14 players took a knee.
Right.
Not at the Army-Navy game, though.
The offensive coordinator would call the play and not be able to see the field.
It's crazy.
They wouldn't even see what happened.
I know.
It looked like old school football.
Yes, it did.
And that player that was going after the guy who threw something at him, he didn't get over the wall, right? He didn't go up
I
there.
don't think so. Nope.
Okay.
He tried. All right. Thank you very much, Jillian. Let's go down to our nation's capital. Kellyanne Conway joins us on this Monday morning. She's counselor to the president. Good morning to you, Kellyanne.
And a Philadelphia Eagles fan. How are you?
There you go.
You're having a good day.
Jillian's happy.
I think.
That's right. Hey, Kellyanne, we just did a story, Griff did a story about Roy Moore. According to Real Clear Politics average, it looks like he's 3 or 4 ahead right now of Mr. Jones. Why has the president, what was the calculation behind not exactly saying he's going to go out and campaign for him, and then at the 11th hour, the president made it very clear in Pensacola that Roy Moore is his guy?
I think the president couldn't be more clear about how he feels about this race. He has said, this is the president talking now, the president has said, go vote Roy Moore. He's made it very clear that he wants that vote in the United States Senate. The president has said a vote for lower taxes and more secure borders, certainly less regulations, more ISIS in defeat around the globe. So the president has made very clear how he feels about this race, and he's also said it's up to the Alabama voters to decide. We respect the rights of voters in every state to decide who represents them in the United States Senate. I know it looks like in the polling, I'm out of the polling business now, but it looks like nobody's cracked 50%. I think one of the undercovered stories of this race is what will be the effect on the Alabama voter with respect to how much money has been spent in this race. There's a tremendous spending advantage for Doug Jones, and the president knows that as well. He sees that. But there's probably this president getting involved, and I think the vice president getting involved in the other special elections has spun victories.
Okay.
They're 5 for 5. I'm just surprised that the Democrats haven't had more of a footprint in Alabama. I think if they had polling showing Doug Jones ahead, they'd be crowing about it and feeding the media, or most of the media, about it. And they just haven't. They had a couple people down there, but really they've spent money on this race, but they really haven't had superstars, powerhouses going into Alabama, say how they did in Georgia 6 for that Ossoff race, where he lost a $50 million special election.
Right. Real quick on this, there's a theory out there that Laura Ingraham had brought up and some others that the Republicans, the Democrats want Roy Moore to win to make him the poster child for bad behavior next year in the midterms. How do you feel about that possible plot?
So here's what voters focus on, and we all know. You don't need to be a pollster of 28 years to know the following, including the own media's polling that are pushing that point. The own media's polling show that it's taxes, the economy, healthcare, education, immigration, national security, prosperity, accountability, transparency, every single issue that this president and vice president are working on every single day behind me. Voters know this is the paycheck president. They saw those numbers on Friday. Nobody can take that away from this president, that the economy is absolutely booming. The stock market is up. He's created trillions of dollars of wealth since he got here, since he was elected. And we have the lowest unemployment rate in 17 years, lowest unemployment rate among Hispanics ever, folks, lower unemployment rates than we've had among African Americans and teens and women. You can't argue with the facts and the figures that motivate people to go to the polls. So I don't know why the Democrats, I mean, I do know why. They've got nothing else to say. What are they going to do next year? Say, hey, not a single one of us voted for tax decreases. Not a single one of us wanted to roll back regulations that are hurting property owners and taxpayers. Not a single one of us, when we could stand up for the moms and dads and the moms and pops in the tax code, did that. Therefore, porous borders. Therefore, they call ISIS determined enemies in the JV team. And so we want their help. But what in the world are they going to run on other than this next year? So I think voters are smarter than that.
Kellyanne, what was your response then? You're talking about all these statistics that the Republicans have done, that President Trump has done. When President Obama, he spoke at a summit, the North America Climate Summit in Chicago last week, and he said he's taking credit for this booming economy. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I believe the word she used was laughable. What's your response?
Regrettable and false, obviously. If the Obama economy is what Americans wanted, then Hillary Clinton would have won his third term. And they rejected Obamonomics. We know that, I mean, just look at the statistics. We had 2% or less growth on his watch. This country, for decades, until 2007, got about 3% or better growth GDP on average. And when he got here, it was we settled for less. And people are tired of settling for less. Under President Trump, we've had 2 consecutive quarters of over 3% GDP. We're going to be close to 4%. We had hurricane spending in there, rightfully so, and yet still had a quarter. You see the anticipation and the expectation of a massive tax cut for the middle class and for our job creators. That is spurring economic anticipation, the manufacturer confidence, the small business confidence. It's all up there.
Well, you're not going to hear that on a lot of the mainstream media
outfits. And Obama's not the president.
That's
Why can't he talk about something else? In other words, I can't believe the Democratic Party has wasted a year talking about the 2016 election and occasionally the 2020 election. What in God's name? What do they have to show? Here, this will drive the haters crazy this morning, laying in bed watching us. This is the Democrat. Everybody says, what are the Trump accomplishments? Those are lengthy, and we'll be putting them out soon. Here are the Democratic Party's accomplishments. Go ahead, make it viral, haters. These are their accomplishments. They talked about 2016 and 2020 the whole year, and it doesn't mean anything. They have to go home now and face their voters and say, when I had a chance to cut your taxes, when I had a chance to make our national security more robust, I looked the other way because of petty partisan political differences. Let me make very clear, this president wants Democratic support in our major measures, but that's a question for the Democrats.
All right, very good. Kellyanne Conway joining us from the North Lawn. Kellyanne, thank you very much. Have a great week.
With paper. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, 13 minutes now after the hour. I don't want to give it away, but I think I saw Stuart Varney in the stairs. Is that, take a quick look.
That's a tease.
All right, coming up. Skier Lindsey Vonn says she will not represent the President of the United States at the Winter Olympics, but now she may not even get to go to the games.
And it's a Bitcoin bonanza. Everybody's talking about how high it is. Should you buy it? That's the question. Stuart Varney's got some answers because it's Bitcoin Monday.
Oh, it is.
Good morning.
Hey, Stuart. Bitcoin coming in with a bang. Futures of the digital currency surging more than 20% during its debut on the Chicago Exchange.
And that is today. It began the day at $15,000, ending at more than $17,000, I believe, on Friday, as investors predict multi-trillion-dollar value.
So, should you invest? Here to weigh in, the host of Varney & Company on the Fox Business Network. He's on from 9 to noon. So, people like Jamie Dimon said, you better not trade it, I'm going to fire you.
Look,
he knows what he's talking about usually.
I think it is a speculative bubble which ends in tears. That's my opinion of this thing.
Not for the Winklevoss brothers or whatever their names are. They made a lot of money.
Spit it out there. They're the Winklevoss brothers.
Is that their name? I don't know.
Original investors in Bitcoin, and they are supposedly the first billionaire Bitcoin people. They think it's going to a multi-trillion-dollar market. Okay, that's their opinion. Look,
it's a global digital currency.
Okay, global digital currency. What you're buying, essentially, is a computer entry. And the value of that computer entry is based on supply and demand, not on the price of gold or the full faith and credit of the United States Treasury. The price has gone crazy. You know, it started trading on this futures exchange yesterday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday afternoon. It starts trading. It goes up 10%. Trading is halted. We can't handle the volatility.
On Sunday. Why on a Sunday?
Well, it's a global market.
It's completely unregulated.
Well, the trading on this exchange is regulated to some degree. But there's all kinds of exchanges. Right. You can establish all different prices on different exchanges. That's the problem here.
Here's the thing. There are so many people who are looking in. They're, mom and pop investors. They get some money. They're setting it aside. 10 people on our show are investing $100, $200 in it. And they cannot even explain it. They just know that about a month ago it was $9,000, then it's $17,000. They want to have it when it goes to $50.
Look, if you've got $100, $200 or $2,000 that you're quite prepared to lose, okay, chuck it into the gambling casino. Why not? But look,
and you're only buying
let's get this in perspective here. What you're buying into, essentially, is a new and very disruptive technology. Even if it crashes, it's not going away. The bitcoins of this world are here to stay. They are, as you say, a cryptocurrency. But nobody understands them, but it's a new medium of exchange.
Will restaurants ever take Bitcoin? Can I go to Macy's and get myself a head stocking?
Some do. Some do. But at the moment, it's not being used as a currency. It's being used as a speculative computer entry, which they hope will go straight up in value.
But bought in dollars.
Yes, bought in dollars.
You can buy a portion of a coin for hundreds of dollars or whatever you want to put in, but I understand the whole coin is like $15,000 or $10,000?
Current price, moments ago, $16,411 to be precise.
Good luck, Brian. Go invest.
It sounds like a Seinfeld episode, actually.
And you would not put a nickel in it?
I would not. No,
okay.
I think it is a bubble, and I think it ends in tears, and I think if it crashes, it could hurt the overall economy.
He is Stuart Varney. He's the star of Varney & Company, featuring him for 3 hours.
Can you take it?
Yes. We relish in it.
All
right. Meanwhile, 10 minutes before the bottom of the hour and 40 minutes before the top of the hour and 2 hours and something else until something happens. The clock is ticking for Congress. Can they get tax reform done before Christmas? We're going to ask Majority Whip Steve Scalise just ahead. That's him and his title.
All right, now it's time for the news by the numbers, and it is one number. It is more than 20 million views. What we're talking about is Kimberly Jones, who is the mother of a young boy. He would come home every day and he'd say, yeah, they bullied me again. She decided she was going to turn on her phone on Friday, and she did, as her son Keaton explained how the bullies at school are really getting to him.
Just out of curiosity, why do they bully? What's the point of it? Why do you find joy in taking innocent people and finding a way to be mean to them? It's not okay.
What do they say to you?
They make fun of my nose. They call me ugly. They say I have no friends.
What'd they do to you at lunch?
Put milk on me and put a hand down my clothes. Threw bread at me.
Is it just you?
Yep.
Or is it other kids too that feel that way?
Say it's other kids too.
How's that make you feel?
I don't like that they do it to me, and I for sure don't like that they do it to other people, because it's not okay. People that are different don't need to be criticized about it, because it's not their fault. But if you are made fun of, just don't let it bother you. Just stay strong, I guess. It's hard. But it'll probably get better one day.
20 million views of that video. There's a GoFundMe page for his future education, up to about $50,000 so far.
It's so hard to watch, that precious child. If you're a parent, even if you're not a parent, if you're a human being and you watch that, I don't understand how, in middle school, we were all middle schoolers. We were all bullied at one point, but to actually pour milk on someone, who can do that? Then they took bread and they put it down his shirt.
Damn.
Who are these people? We need to find out who these kids are. They need to get to the principal's office. Their parents need to be told. I'm sure they feel terrible today.
You know what's fascinating? He's like going inside the mind of why would you do that? Because we're different. It's not our fault.
Right.
And he's also doing that for other kids that are being bullied. Stay strong, I guess. Dana White sees this, and he's in charge of the toughest, strongest, most lethal weapons on the planet, the UFC. And he has reached out. He wants everyone to help him find Keaton because he wants to invite the family. He said, meet Keaton Jones, a very smart little boy who's being bullied at school because he forwarded this video. This video is heartbreaking. I want to bring Keaton to Vegas and hang out at UFC headquarters.
He brings up a good point. He is the smart one. He's the smart little boy to recognize people are different. We're all God's children, and it's okay to be different. You don't have to be the most popular person, the prettiest person. We all have strengths in different ways.
After Dana White tweeted that out, Don Trump Jr. tweeted this out. This boy is incredibly brave, and the video really got to me. At Dana White, if he takes you up on your offer to see UFC headquarters in Vegas, I would be honored to host him and his family at our place in Vegas if they need somewhere to stay. We asked you what you thought about it, and the email machine lit up.
Martha said, I wish I could hug that little boy. This brought me to tears. That school should be investigated for allowing this to happen.
Latrice emailed us, if that was my kid, my new job would be to camp out daily at that school until these people and the people allowing it are punished.
We've got to get the backstory here. This from Cartha.
Cartha?
Oh, Cartha. I bless all the people who came to this little guy's side. I would love to see coverage of him staying at Don Jr.'s home or a hotel and then hanging out with other celebrities.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. said, add me to your long list of friends, Keaton. Snoop Dogg said Keaton has a friend for life, and that love is the only way to beat hate. You got Justin Bieber, you got Scooter Braun. The entertainment world and a lot of athletes have all said, this kid is cool.
Yeah.
He's our friend.
Right. You know, it's interesting. I wonder if this is going to be something that we're going to see more and more of to combat bullying. Parents doing this so that their kids feel loved. I mean, as a parent, if your kid didn't, would you put this on video? This was the little boy's idea.
They might be desperate. It sounds like they're desperate.
I agree. I think it was a great idea because it's brought to light this issue. We all need to be talking about it. I think parents at home need to show this to their middle schoolers and say this is what happens when you're mean to someone.
Sure, and the big question is whether or not the mother has talked to the school in the past about, you know, my kid's getting bullied every day, you're not doing anything, and they had it up to here.
Right.
We don't know. We are going to try to invite them on the program for an appearance in a couple of days, so we'll keep you posted.
The other thing would be
everybody
great.
wants to meet Keaton Jones.
The other thing would be great, Jillian, if people were inspired to not watch the bullying, because most of the time you see the bullying going on, you keep walking. Hopefully other kids will stand up for him.
And I feel like when it's kids who are young, like they're just trying to be cool, or they're just trying to do what their friends tell them to do. Or like they're the people who need the message. They're the people who need the awakening right now.
Yeah.
It's sad. But
yeah, kids shouldn't laugh at someone else, but, but to pour milk on them and to do that, that's a different level.
Evil. No. All right.
Yes, it is. Evil. That's a good word for it. Okay, let's get you caught up on your headlines this morning, including this. Anti-American protests erupting overnight in Indonesia as Muslims react to the U.S. recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Protesters burning American flags and images of President Trump. Meantime, the White House calling out Palestinian leaders for canceling a meeting with Vice President Pence later this month. The Vice President's press secretary saying, quote, it's unfortunate that the Palestinian Authority is walking away again from an opportunity to discuss the future of the region. Jury selection begins today in the trial of the first U.S. police officer to ever be accused of terrorism. Nicholas Young, a former Washington, D.C. cop, is accused of buying $250 in gift cards to send to ISIS and giving them to an undercover agent. He was arrested in a government sting last year after being under surveillance for years. Young's lawyers claim he was entrapped by the FBI. Olympic skier Lindsey Vonn pulling out of a World Cup race after injuring her back on Saturday. The gold medalist says she's focusing on getting healthy for the Winter Games. Now, this happened just days after trashing the president.
I hope to represent the people of the United States, not the president. I want to represent our country well, and I don't think there are a lot of people currently in our government that do that.
Vonn also says she won't visit the White House if she's invited. Let's look at your headlines. You know, guys, that sparked a lot of outrage online, and it's still going.
It is indeed.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Jillian.
Thank you.
All right, it is 19 minutes before the top of the hour on this Monday. It is warm in the studio, but I think it's a little chilly out in the streets of New York City, and that's where JD is. With
Rub it in, will ya? Look at my crowd keeping me warm. Listen, you know those ugly Christmas sweaters? Do you know those ugly Christmas sweaters? Well, I love crazy Christmas hats, so we're doing 2 weeks of crazy Christmas hats, and here's the first one. What do you think?
Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, excellent. All right, let's take a look at the maps real quick, because it's cold. Do you guys like the cold? Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at it. It's seasonal, you're right, absolutely. 34 degrees here in New York, 30 in Cleveland. It is cold as far south as Florida, 45 degrees in Tampa. We do have this pattern setting up where we've got the wintry weather across the Great Lakes and the Midwest and the Northeast. So we have a chance of snow not only tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, but really near the end of the work week and a white Christmas. Who wants a white Christmas? Put your hands up. Everybody wants a white Christmas? And where you go? Who's from North Dakota here? Hi, where are you? And what are your names?
Jeanette from Fargo.
And?
Joanne from Tower City, North Dakota.
Nice. And you love Fox and Friends?
We love Fox and Friends.
Is this the highlight of your trip?
It is, yeah.
All right, so wave, everybody. Wave to Ainsley and Steve and Brian. We've got the whole gang here.
Hello.
Oh,
there you go.
Yay.
Wow. You even got Brian to wave, Janice.
All right, good enough. JD, thank you very much. Meanwhile, coming up on this Monday, the clock is ticking for Congress. Can they get tax reform done before Christmas? We're going to get a whip count from Congressman Steve Scalise. There he is right there. He's in our studio, and he is coming up shortly. Good morning to you, sir. We've got a Fox News alert for you right now. We have just confirmed from the Fire Department of New York that there was some sort of a bomb in Midtown Manhattan near 42nd and 8th Avenue, where the Port Authority bus terminal is. We do not know if it exploded. There are reports the Port Authority bus station has been evacuated. Bomb squad is on the scene. We have a crew on the way. We will have an update as soon as we get it. So anyway, it looks as if they found a bomb over by the Port Authority.
Pretty scary. Port Authority is where all the buses coming from different parts of the suburbs come into our city.
And this is
subways
probably
there too.
Excuse me. That's probably one of the busiest times. The busiest times you could do it. So that would be the maximum payoff for a would-be terrorist.
All right. Meanwhile, more on that in a moment. But right now, let's bring in Republican Louisiana Congressman and House Majority Whip Steve Scalise. It is an honor to have you back here in New York.
Well, great to be back with you. Not sure what that's all about, but my prayers surely go out to anybody that's been injured with this, and hopefully I know law enforcement, especially New York Police Department and Fire Department, they're the best in the business. So
we understand the bomb squad's been dispatched over there right away, and they are the best, and they can act authoritatively. Let's talk about what you guys have. You have a lot to accomplish in 10 days. You got to fund the government. You got to fund the Defense Department. You got to pass tax reform, some would say, as well as come up with some type of compromise. First off, on tax reform, where are we now?
We're right now in a conference committee, and so the House and Senate passed two different versions of the same, roughly the same bill that's going to ultimately reduce taxes for families and get the economy moving and create jobs. And so the conferees, both in the House and Senate, have been meeting through the weekend, combing through a lot of the final details where there's disagreement. So hopefully in the next few days we'll see the final framework, get a bill well before Christmas on the president's desk.
Is Obamacare repeal going to be part of that?
The individual mandate repeal is going to, I think, very likely be a part of the final product.
You guys embrace it because it came from the Senate?
Sure. We've passed it in the House many times. The Senate had trouble in the past. The Senate did pass the repeal of the individual mandate in their version of the bill, and we want to keep it. We want to keep it in the final product. That's going to help a lot of families to improve this health care system that's just devolving under Obamacare, where people are seeing massive double-digit increases. Let's get this in the final product of the bill signed by President Trump.
There's a story on Drudge Report right now. I believe it's the Wall Street Journal that shows that some high-income business owners could actually face marginal tax rates over 100%.
That's not going to be in any final version of the bill. Right now, I think they were trying to take some extreme worst-case scenario of something in the Senate bill that it's kind of a fictional. Regardless of that, every tax rate will be cut in our bill. No matter what tax rate you pay, if you're paying taxes, your tax rate is going to go down, and you're going to see families on average get $1,200 more back in their pocket.
So state and local taxes, the SALT, so-called SALT, got a lot of Republicans in big states like New York, high-tax states like California upset. Susan Collins is going to be a stumbling block in the other chamber. Here she is yesterday.
I always wait until the final version of the bill is brought before us before I make a final decision on whether or not to support it. There are major differences between the House and Senate bills, and I don't know where the bill is going to come out. I also obviously care very much about amendments that I was successful in getting in the bill that particularly help middle-income families.
You worry?
No, she voted for the Senate bill, and I think she's going to like the final version even more. This bill pushes a lot more tax relief to middle-class families. It works on making our country competitive again. We have the highest corporate tax rate in the industrialized world, and what that's meant is the erosion of our middle class. Really good $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 jobs leaving America, going to Ireland, Canada, other places. In our bill, we bring those jobs back, and we make our country competitive.
Terrific. Real quick, has the president been helpful on taxes, unlike with health care, which, you know, in the Senate, he was told by Mitch, don't bother helping. I got this covered.
No, President Trump has been incredibly helpful every step of the way. The day we released the bill in the House, the president had us over to the White House and fully embraced the idea of cutting taxes for families. Look, he campaigned on this. He said, I'm going to cut tax rates across the board. And he's following through on yet another campaign promise. He has been great to work with. And when this gets signed by President Trump, this is going to be a generational achievement. We still talk about the 86 tax cuts under Reagan. You're going to be talking about these Trump tax cuts and how it got our economy moving again. And it's going to be something that families are going to really look back on a year from now, 5 years from now, as a great achievement.
Great to see you back in action.
Yeah,
great to be back. Thank you. Good to be here with you.
All right. Meanwhile, the mainstream media reeling from a series of mistakes in their coverage of President Trump doesn't